The people of New Jersey have spoken, and they want a raise. Last night, voters overwhelmingly approved a measure to raise the minimum wage by $1 an hour.
I am a congenital optimist. I would have to be. I'm named Barack Obama. I ran for president. So,
and won.
And won twice. Look, keep in mind, first of all, that what the CEOs here said is absolutely right. This is a boost to our economy.
President Obama this week making the case that immigration reform should happen because it would be a good economic step forward for the country. The voters of the state of New Jersey just a couple of weeks ago making the case that people who make minimum wage ought to get paid more, that would be good economically for New Jersey. The state Senate in Massachusetts today voting that Massachusetts should move to a statewide $11 an hour minimum wage because that would be good economically for the state of Massachusetts. And this week in the United States Senate, Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts made a widely circulated Senate floor speech, making the case that the era of fighting about cutting Social Security is over, and now it is time to talk about expanding Social Security. At the very least, that used to be Beltway heresy. Senator Warren now joins us. Senator, thanks very much for being with us. It's nice to have you here.
It's good to be here.
So why now? Why do you think now is the right time to talk about this when all we've heard from the very serious people in the Beltway for the past forever is that it's time to cut it?
Because it's time to talk about reality. You know, America's middle class has been hammered for a generation now. So adjusted for inflation, the wages of a middle-class family have gone down. And yet core expenses, housing, health care, send a kid to college, have all shot through the roof. Families cut back as best they could. They sent 2 people into the workforce if they had a 2-person household. And yet families couldn't make it. So they stopped saving. They went into debt. And now, as they're starting to hit their retirement years, what we're seeing are seniors who are really in a financial squeeze. They have more debt. They don't have savings. They owe money on their homes. The old defined pension plans that help protect them from their employers, about 35% of the workforce had them a generation ago. Now we've cut that in half. So they're really under a squeeze, and what they've got is Social Security. So now we've got in America where about 2/3 of all seniors count on Social Security as their principal form of income. And for 14 million Americans, Social Security is all that stands between them and poverty. We have a retirement crisis in America. This is no time. This is the last time to be talking about cutting Social Security. This is the moment when we talk about expanding Social Security.
Are you talking about a narrowly targeted expansion that would specifically try to steer more benefits towards seniors in need, towards seniors at the lowest end of the economic spectrum? Or do you think this should be a broad, across-the-board rise in benefits, even to seniors who are better off?
You know, I think what we have to watch is we have to think about 2 things on Social Security. The first one is we absolutely need to make the system secure over a long period of time. And I really want to stop for a second and drill on that, because we have to remember all the folks who talk about cutting Social Security always start with the fact that, hey, listen, it's just terrible what's happening with Social Security. It's not. If we did nothing to Social Security, we go 20 years paying at the same rate, and then after that we drop roughly about a quarter and pay all the way to the end of the 21st century. So what that tells us is that we could make some modest adjustments to Social Security, and we could level it out so that we'll be able to protect the benefits we've got. But then is the time to start thinking beyond that. And it's to think about all of the Americans who depend on Social Security. Remember where I started this, Rachel. 2/3 of seniors right now are counting on Social Security for their principal income. We have to think about a broad approach to this.
The types of tweaks that it would take to make the program fiscally sound in the very, very long term that you're talking about. I'm assuming the basic one is raising the cap after which rich people stop paying their Social Security taxes. So people at the higher end of the economic spectrum just pay their Social Security taxes for a larger proportion of their income. That's always seemed like a very simple fix to me. Why has it always been politically radioactive?
You know, it's an interesting part of it. What's interesting to me about it is Social Security. I mean, fixing it to get it to work over the long haul. When you remember how close it is now to working all the way through the rest of the 21st century, there are a lot of fairly modest changes you could make. You identify one of them. Another one is how you bring more people into the system, so there are more payers into Social Security. Another one is how you change some of the questions where parts of it are bleeding out that shouldn't. There are a lot of different dials you could turn on getting Social Security leveled back out just a little bit. That's really all it takes. What's interesting to me is why we haven't focused on that. Why the conversation started with cutting benefits. That was always the direction this went. And I just think it's fundamentally wrong. We need to have a different conversation. We need to have a sensible economic conversation about how to do it. It's not that hard. But what we also need to do is remember, this is partly about math, but it's partly about our values. This is about what kind of a people we are, what kind of a country we are trying to build. I believe fundamentally we are a people who believe that anyone should be able to retire with dignity. And that's what Social Security is about. People who work all their lives and pay into it should have a minimum level that they don't fall beneath. That's good economics, but the point is, it's who we are. It is the kind of country we are building.
That argument that you are making about our American values, but also what you want to fight for politically, is, I know you don't want to have this conversation, but it's why people are talking about you as a national figure and not just a senator from Massachusetts in the Democratic Party. I'm not going to ask you the facile question about whether or not you want to run, but do you believe that the types of values you're articulating there are the future of the Democratic Party? Do you feel at home in the Democratic Party, or do you feel like your fight is partly with your own side to get your fellow Democrats to make these issues a priority?
Now, I think that this is our moment. I think we have come to understand that, America changes much of the time. It's in increments. It's in small pieces. But we truly have come to the crossroads now. And there are two very different visions of how we build a future. The Republicans have made theirs clear. It's you protect those at the very top. You make sure they've got the maximum number of loopholes and subsidies. And, everyone else, so be it. In other words, their vision is, I got mine, the rest of you are on your own. Our vision is different. It says that we really do make these investments together. And when we make these investments together, we build a strong future, not just for some of us, but for all of us. The pieces are tied together. We're here tonight to talk about Social Security, and that's what I want to talk about. I'm glad to fight for it. But remember, the pieces we're talking about are tied together. It's about fighting for education. Our kids who are being crushed by student loan debt. It's about fighting for the minimum wage. It's about fighting for dignity when people retire. It's about fighting for a world that we build together, because we believe that when we do that, we all got a better chance. We've all got a fighting chance to make something, and that's what we'll do.
Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, thank you very, very much for your time tonight. It's always great to have you here, ma'am. Thank you very much.